Good morning, everybody. A machete adventure here, Mike. Today we're gonna have a bit of a mixed bag. This channel is about adventure, homesteading, starting a small farm, things like that. And today we're gonna talk about a lot of little things that you might not think about when homesteading. I'm also going to give you an update on the status of the chicken house and our first inhabitants. So stay tuned. Okay. So take a walk with me down to the chicken coop. Here we go. And as you can see, we've got the chicken coop completely wired in now. So it's looking pretty good. We've got it all wired up all the way around. So it's not finished. You know, there's still things that we want to do to it, but now it's to the point where it's usable. So let's talk a little bit more about the chicken coop, what we did, what it took, and our first inhabitants. We made it down here. So our first inhabitants, well, let me just introduce you. Here we go. This is Peter and Pumpkin. Peter's a male rabbit. Pumpkin is a female rabbit. And these are going to be our breeding rabbits. So yes, breeding rabbits for food. So I know that might upset some people, but it's a reality of life on the homestead that sometimes you grow animals for food. And sometimes people get attached to animals because they think, oh, that's a pet, that's whatever. But you know what? Yeah, rabbits are food and they're good. Our other occupant is a big lion bunny. And, you know, I don't think we're going to breed her. I doubt very much we're going to, raise her to be food either. I think she's going to be more of a pet bunny. So, but they are actually the first occupants of the chicken house. We put them in here to keep them out of the weather and out of the rain, et cetera, et cetera. And as you can see, that now that the chicken house is done, it works very well. We had some good rain come through, and I was able to, check the roof for any kind of leaks, etc. And we are bone dry, which is good. Now, that doesn't mean that when the wind blows that it couldn't get some water in here. Of course, that could happen. But, most of the time the rains here are just straight down gully washers for an hour, and then they're gone. So let's talk a little bit more about this chicken house and what it's taken to get us to where we're at. All right, let's have a seat. So, this chicken house from start to finish, honestly, I think it was, there's quite a bit invested in it. I'll just come straight out and be honest. Do I think I'm going to get my money back on it? That's not what it was about. It was about building something almost from scratch, from the ground up, one time. And I don't want to have to continually rebuild this. So if I would have chinched out on materials, I've could have done this way cheaper. But you know, you get what you pay for kind of thing. So if you buy, not treated lumber, and if you use different sizes of lumber than I did, then yeah, it can be way less expensive. But and in the area that we're in, we have hurricanes. So I don't want to continually have to rebuild this thing. Now, I understand that the roof might get ripped off. Okay, it's sheet metal. But that's one thing. I'm talking structure. The structure of the building is not going anywhere. So it is very solid. We started with a semi-solid concrete building, but we had to do a lot of improvements to that. One of my previous videos, we talk about some of the costs. And today, I'm not going to get into all the specific details of the cost, but I will give you an overall number on what generally this project has cost, not including my labor. So all totaled in, I'm going to take a really good estimate at about $2,500. Okay. Now, where did that go? The $2,500 went into the big posts that I use, the ready rod, the screws, the 2x6 pressure treated. Everything's pressure treated. The roofing material is not cheap. The concrete work, the concrete block, the paint, and that's not including tools. And that was something else that I want to talk about today, is when you're homesteading, one of the things that, one of the costs of homesteading that a lot of people don't talk about is tools. And again, you get what you pay for. Can you do it cheaper? Yes. But I didn't necessarily go cheap because I know I'm going to have a lot of projects to do, as most homesteaders do. And you want to invest in good quality equipment. Okay, so I'm going to give you a rundown, kind of a general list of some of the equipment that I have and what I use a lot. First off, I have a steel weed eater, the Steel brand, and it has been fantastic. There's zero issues with it. The thing runs like a champ, and I use it a lot. I beat it, and it's been running great. I also have a steel chainsaw, an MS-250. By the way, Steel is not a sponsor. None of these companies that I mention are sponsors. This video is not sponsored. So a Steel chainsaw, MS-250, ripper, man, ripper, solid chainsaw. I've used other chainsaws in the past, and Steel chainsaw, they know what they're doing. Let's talk about tools. Let's talk about battery operated tools. So, there's a lot of different brands out there, and they're all pretty good. I happen to be, kind of partial to Makita. Makita tools have never let me down. I don't know if everybody's experience is the same way. I've dealt with, again, many different brands, Milwaukee, DeWalt. They're all decent, I have a tendency to be drawn to the Makita brand. So they work very well. I'm using a lot of their newer style 36 volt. I use their 36 volt circular saw. I have their impact driver, their drill. I also have a couple of their corded tools. I just picked up their cordless 18 volt grinder. It's been great. Would I say it's as great as a corded grinder? I wouldn't, but it's pretty good, and the mobility factor of it is what I need, because right now down at the Coop we don't have power yet. So if I need power down here, what I have to do is I have to bring a generator with me. And that leads me into the next thing that I have. On a homestead, it's always a good thing to have a generator. Now, big generator, small generator. I started off with a fairly large, gasoline engine generator, and it's made by Champion. I want to say it's 7,500 or 7,600 watts. And it was one of the first purchases that I made moving here. And it has served us very well. It's got a lot of hours on it. When we first got here, we went through a lot of power outages. That does seem to be getting better. And it still gets used from time to time because there are times we still lose power. But the mobility factor of it's not so great. It's very heavy. It is on wheels and it has a handle. But in order to get it down where I need it, I would have to somehow pick it up, load it in a pickup truck, drive it down here, unload it, bring it down a hill. And that got to be, I just didn't do it because it was just too much. So I borrowed a generator a few times from different people, a smaller one. And finally I went out and purchased a small Champion suitcase style 2,500 watt generator. And you can carry it. It's still a little heavy, especially when it's full of fuel. But again, that works really good. I'll probably insert some pictures here of these different items that I use. I may even put some links down in the description of some of the equipment that I use. But I got to tell you, I haven't had, a bad piece of equipment yet. And I think that a lot of that has to do with me using a lot of different tools over the years and knowing what is decent and what isn't. So, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here, but when you go into some of these stores, a big giant blue store that, is all over the country. And I'm not talking about Lowe's or anything like that. I'm talking about, a place where you can get groceries and clothes and, the big box store with the W. Their tools in there, they're corded tools. They're just not, they're not good. They're going to burn up. So especially in this kind of environment, there's no way I would use that stuff. So, hand tools, bar none, you're going to need a lot of different hand tools, wrenches, pipe wrenches. One of the weird things that I found very valuable on the Homestead is wire. A lot of people talk about mechanics wire. I use a lot of galvanized wire, but it's very, very handy. So it's not really a tool. It's more like something you use, but yeah. To do this and to kind of start a homestead or live this kind of lifestyle, you've got to be, or you should be, a well-rounded kind of mechanical type person. If you're not, it's going to cost you a lot of money to have people help you and do things that you could do by yourself. And it's just education, so you have to educate yourself. You have to be able to do some work with electricity. You have to be able to work with hand tools. You have to be able to diagnose things and figure out problems. So you got to be a good problem solver. But I wanted to touch on that today. So tool wise, I've got probably several $1,000s invested in that. Now there's some kind of specialty things that I've got that you might not need, but and those again are very, very useful for projects around the homestead. So but we're going to talk a little bit more about where we're at in the land clearing department now, and let's go check out an area that we're working on. There was a lot of vegetation here, and it was really, really deep. And at one time, this was all planted with coffee and etc. So there's still a few plants that we're keeping. There's an orange tree. couple coffees, a couple different plants that we're keeping. But I wanted to give you kind of a bird's eye view from the top, and then we're going to go down to the bottom, more or less bottom of the property, and look at what the plan is from here forward. So let me flip this around. Okay, as you can see, this is where we put, over there is where we put the road in. So the road comes down like this, and we're gonna walk that road, but this whole hillside was just completely packed with vines and vegetation and lots of stuff. But we've cleared all this, a lot of trees came out, and we've gotten over to kind of this area, and then we started working across the bottom. So we'll take a look at that. So we're gonna walk down here, and as you can see, all the grass and stuff is brown. I sprayed it, you know, to kind of knock it back so I can get down here and you know, get all these weeds and stuff out of here. But the plan is to put back in more coffee. See, there's a nice coffee plant right there. Okay, so if you've been a subscriber for a while, you probably remember when this road went in. Since then, grass is finally covered over the dirt, which is good. That's what I want. I just come down here and cut it. And why do I want the grass on the road? Because it helps hold dirt. So, you know, holding dirt here is kind of important. But as you can see, the hillside gives you a better idea of how much we've cleared. Yeah, it is pretty steep, but it's great for coffee and plantain and, you know, other stuff like that. So down here on the left, we started clearing back more of the property. And our plan is everything to the left, we're clearing. Everything to the right, we're leaving for now. So on the left-hand side here, I think I figured out it was close to 2 acres that we're gonna end up clearing. And you know, some of these bigger like fern type trees and stuff we're gonna leave because we like those and because they do serve a purpose in holding the dirt. But we started clearing back some of these trees in here. And as you can see, there's a lot of small trees. So this gives you an example of what this over on the previous side back there looked like. You know, it's a lot of these, and you know, probably 95% of everything that's in here is just, you know, wild rogue nasty trees that really are just invasive and don't serve any purpose. So there are some things mixed in. That tree right there is a guama, which is a good tree. That's actually a grove of them, and we're going to keep those. We're going to end up marking those and not taking them out. Again, everything's trimmed down here pretty nice now because I came down about a week ago and cut everything. But the big ferns, like these big fern trees, we're going to keep. Again, everything to the left is what we're going to be doing. So this goes down to the what I call the well, or the natural spring. Here is kind of a Y, so we're going to head back up kind of towards the house. And again, on the left is what we're going to be clearing. You know, there's a couple trees in here that are decent. So but yeah, all the way up to the road, that road we walked down, is what we're going to be clearing back. So we want to try to get this done this year. It's going to be a lot of work to get it done, but I think we can hit it hard a couple times. And obviously our path is blocked here by this tree because this is again an invasive, kind of a garbage tree. I got to get down here with a chainsaw and cut it out, but we're going to sneak through here on our little path. And here's kind of where we stop putting the road up. I'm thinking about continuing that once we get this cleared out, having a bulldozer come back down and put this road all the way back up the hill to the chicken house. So everything over here is going to get cleared out. If you look really close, and I don't know if you can see it, maybe I can zoom in. That right there is a very nice orange tree. Beautiful, full, you know, and it's just kind of cut off down here. So we need to get in here and take out, like, this big tree here is gonna come down. These types of trees, I don't remember what they're called, but they break really easy in high winds. So we're gonna take that out, drop it. You know, there's bananas down in here, plantain, all kinds of stuff. So some of it we're gonna keep, some of it we won't. You know, there's literally bananas growing everywhere. So that's where we're at with this project. So this is kind of a hodgepodge update video of a lot of different things. I figured I'd give everybody a decent update on how things are going. So let's head down to the well area and see how that's going. Okay, we're down here at our spring, and I don't know if you can hear the water running, but right now it's still just the pipe. So, you know, the chicken house kind of took priority. We started that project. We wanted to finish that project, and we finally did pretty much complete it. So, you know, there's still a few things that we want to touch up on it, but for the vast majority of it, it's pretty much done. So the next project we're going to dive into is this water project. So that's going to concern a lot of different things. It's going to concern tanks, plumbing, piping, pumps, electrical, a lot of different things. So this is probably going to be one of our more long-term type things, and expense-wise, it's going to add up. So distance of ground that we have to cover for electrical is high. We need to supply 220 volts. So, you know, the size of wire is going to be expensive, things like that. But if you hold tight, I'll show you this water. And, you know, the flow is pretty good right now. It's been better, it's been worse. So let's take a look. Here we can see our water. And then last time I calculated this, it was coming out at about, you know, 1,500 to 2,000 gallons per day. Right now, I'd say it's a little bit higher than that. I'd say we're probably up to, maybe 2,400 gallons. I would estimate that's probably about a gallon a minute. And if you calculate that out, you know, it's going to come out to somewhere in there. But it's great water, very, very, very tasty. Don't mind me if I drink a little. Oh, so good. It's ice cold, clean. And yes, I've had it tested. I've sent it into a lab, and everything came back 100% great. No problems, no leads, no pesticides, no bacteria, nothing like that. We drink this water quite a bit. When we can get down here and get it out, that's the big problem we have, is because it's pretty far down the mountain and down these roads, you know, which you really need a serious kind of off-road piece of equipment to get down here. Most of the time we haul out water in 5-gallon jugs, and I can only carry like 2 at a time. So, you know, it's a deal to get water out of here. But we have some of the equipment in place, and, you know, we're going to be handling that situation here shortly. So, I mean, it just flows 24/7 nonstop like this. So that's the water situation. Head back over and go down what we like to call Yame Road, just to give you an update on that. Now, secretly, this is kind of my favorite part of the property thus far. I mean, there's still areas we haven't even looked at yet, haven't even discovered, because they're so dense. But to me, this area, I don't know, it's just, I like it. It's very jungly. And I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. Say something down below. So I thought I'd give you that little snippet, a little bit of sights and sounds. You can hear a lot of birds chirping and, kind of dogs in the background barking and stuff. But generally, it's very quiet down here, very peaceful. This road here, I got to get down here and clean this a little bit. But, oh yeah, this is where it is. This is where it's at. This is where I love to be. We've done a lot of clearing up here. Now you have to remember, see how dense this is, right? So this part of the property was the same way. And you can kind of get an idea what it looks like now. So night and day difference. You know, we planted some trees, and you can see how it's much more groomed. The coffee's been cut back. It's coming back just fine. This is in reference to the video I talked about stumping the coffee. As you can see it's coming back just fine. Yeah, all that. This whole area was just totally overgrown. But this is the kind of fence we're gonna put in. Same kind. And it's gonna continue on down. Now this fence starts here at the shed, goes all the way up the hill and goes all the way around the corner. So, but that's what the plan is. One other thing I wanted to point out is our mango tree has come alive. This thing would not put out mangoes for nothing. I did a little bit of trimming on it, kind of woke it up, and look at the blooms. I mean, this thing is absolutely loaded with blooms. That's no guarantee that we're gonna get any mangoes, because you could end up getting all leaves off this, and you can see there is some leaves. Okay, so sometimes when a mango blooms, they put off leaves, but it does look like there's gonna be mangoes, because I do see a couple. I don't know if I can zoom in, but if you look right at the end there, I don't know if you can see it, but right in here, there's some mangoes. So we may get some mangoes this year, which would be quite unusual for this tree. So maybe my doing a little trimming and kind of waking this thing up has worked, because it has never bloomed like this. I mean, it is absolutely loaded with blooms. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll get to try some mangoes this year off this tree. Don't know if they're any good or not. Some mango trees are really good, others are not. But you can see the blooms. There's just tons and tons of them. So all right, everybody, so that's gonna wrap it up for this video. You know, I hope that this update kind of gave you some heads up on some of the questions that you've been asking about different things. You know, status of the water, status of the land clearing, status of the chicken house, what's going on with that. So I tried to cover a lot of bases today. Hopefully it answered your questions, and we touched on some tools. You know, if you want to hear more about that kind of stuff, like tools and what you need and all that, let me know in the comments down below. Questions, comments, concerns. As always, you know what to do. Subscribe, and I'll see you later from Machete Adventure. Have an awesome day.